I have been in real estate investing and self-managing actually for a couple of decades, and I can count on exactly 0 fingers how many times I've driven across town in the middle of the night to unclog a toilet. So when I work with new investors, we go through like how to handle those kind of things. It's all doable, I promise. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing for Life. I'm your host, Jonna Weber, and today what we're going to do is have some fun. We're covering the 3 biggest myths holding new investors back. And these are kind of 3 refrains that I've heard over and over, not so much for people that have really gotten into the know that are in our real estate community, but those that I talk to, whether they're real estate clients just in passing, talking about investing, or whether they're friends at the dinner table, that sort of thing. You know, it's amazing when you start talking about real estate investing, people really want to talk about it. It's one of those conversations where I feel really fortunate because people just open right up, whether it's someone that's a service provider or someone that I just met, on the airplane. And when I talk about what I do for a living is I work with real estate investors and I am a real estate investor. They have some opinions about it, that's for sure. And these are some of the commonalities that I hear over and over again from those that want to talk about it, but they haven't done anything. So the first myth that I see holding new investors back a lot is myth number 1, that I need a ton of money to get started. Now, do you need some money? Absolutely. Is there typically in a successful person's household money that's going elsewhere that could be funneling towards real estate investments? Yes, that is a truth. And I look back to when my husband and I were starting our real estate journey and really getting serious about it. We had a situation where we were driving old cars and we were living in a small house, one that we had intended to be a rental home, but the recession had hit. And so we were upside down and lived in a small home with our kids for 9 years. And that was not always fun when we watched our friends in big, beautiful homes and driving their new SUVs and getting the new things. And we were living off of basically half of our income, pretty much single income. I was teaching school for a little bit, so I might as well have been single income, unfortunately. And I was, of course, bringing in a little, but I was going towards saving for the kids' college education. And so we made a decision to take that extra money that my husband would bring home and invest it into real estate investing. So we didn't have a ton of money, but we created money and opportunity from what we did have. And I don't want to hear it was so easy back in the day because it still was a lot of money back then. And I know it just takes a little bit more now, but the exciting thing is there are so many different ways to go about investing in real estate. And I didn't know any different. When I first got started, we just took out investment property loans. You could take up to 10 in anyone's name at that time. And so we would put 25% down and then we would get our rental property with 75% loan. Now that's still a great way to go. And even if you can pay cash, that's amazing. It's one way to guarantee that you're taking away a lot of that risk for real estate and you're also cash flowing. But there are different programs where definitely 25% is not necessary. There are what are called DSCR loans, which we'll talk about on another episode. There's also a lot of creative financing solutions that a lot of people are taking advantage of this day and age, and also seller financing. So that's really exciting. Another thing that is an interesting opportunity for you to get into a home for lower, no money down is to make that home your primary home, at least for a while. The guidelines, I believe the FHA guidelines are at least a year, and you can do anything for a year, including buy a quality rental property and live in it. And then at a later date, turn that into a rental. And that can be done with as low as 3.5%, 5% down. So that's always an option. Another great option that I love to share with my clients has been to simply, if they're going to move up in home, see if you can move up in home without selling that primary home that you've had. If it's going to make a good rental, I know a lot of people that are moving out of 14, 15, 1,600 square foot homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and have locked in very low interest rate payments, sometimes under $1,000 a month. And when I see someone that has really good income selling that in order to get into their next property, so be it. That's their prerogative, absolutely. But I believe the best scenario is if it's not a hardship on them to hold on to that property, and you've got a rare opportunity to make that a positive cash flowing rental property from the get-go. You may not have quite as much down to put on your next residence, but again, it's your primary residence. You could look at getting a lower down payment. Just food for thought. Talk to your tax professionals and look at your own risk level. But there's definitely options to get into a rental property for less than 25% down. There's also people that are working with their children and getting their kids into properties that will eventually be rental properties. But that child who is buying the property is going to be living in the property and making it their primary residence, which again qualifies for a much lower down payment. And then there's advantages like homeowners exemption, all kinds of things that we could get into. But it's definitely a myth that you need a ton of money to get started. However, I do believe you need some money and you need an emergency fund. So lots that we could go down on that. And definitely we'll have further episodes on different creative financing deals. In fact, you could refer back to Patrick Penner on a former episode. I'll grab that show number for you for the show notes, but he has a great episode on creative financing. You don't really need millions, guys. You don't even need tens and hundreds of thousands, but you need the right strategy to start small and scale if you don't have a large nest egg sitting there ready for you to invest. And you can start smaller than you think. And the first deal, it doesn't have to be forever and it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's go on to myth number 2. And that's just this simple phrase, like, it's too risky right now. The interest rates are high. The market isn't right. It's going to burst. We hear that all the time. This bubble's going to burst. And why people believe it is, the media headlines, the high interest rates, the fear of the crash. It's really something where they are scared. And I was scared. I was so scared when we first really started seriously investing in rental property. It was the middle of the recession. Prices had been slashed in half. We didn't know. I honestly didn't know if they were going to go to zero. I knew subconsciously they would never go to zero because people always need a place to live. But it was a scary time. But one thing, a commonality I realized that at that time too is, before I really started getting involved with other real estate investors, I was listening to the media way too much. The reality is that every market has opportunities if you just focus on cash flow, long-term fundamentals, and smart deal selection. Another thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to compare the real estate's predictability with the stock market volatility. And there's other advantages that come with real estate that I don't believe are the same with stocks. And that's something that's very interesting that I definitely think that we should cover on a later episode, So if you have an interest in that, let me know. But it'd be great to get someone who's really involved in the stock market on here and we could do a little debate. Wouldn't that be fun?
Hey, Idaho investors, here's a stat that might surprise you. Over 70% of successful real estate investors say their best deals didn't come from the MLS or from a cold online lead. They came through their network. So if you're serious about growing your portfolio, it's time to get in the right room. Join Idaho REIN, the Idaho Real Estate Investor Network, an affiliate of the National RIA. We're here to inspire, connect, and equip you to build real wealth through real estate. Success doesn't happen in isolation. Get in the room where it's happening. Visit idahorein.com and join us today.
As far as Idaho, a lot of you listening are here in Idaho. Yes, growth continues and deals still exist. Are they different than they were 10, 15 years ago? Totally noted. But I do believe there are deals here, and real estate is very forgiving if you give it enough time. The deal matters more than the market. So you're going to want to buy for cash flow and you're going to buy for quality and not the headlines. There's never going to be a perfect time. Success comes from choosing the right deal and not waiting for perfect connections. Myth number 3, let's go on to this. I could probably have 10 myths, but we're sticking to 3 today. Is something that I've heard a lot is that being a landlord isn't for me, or worse yet, being a landlord is a nightmare. And I don't want to get up and fix a toilet, unclog a toilet in 3 a.m. across town. Well, I have been in real estate investing and self-managing actually for a couple of decades, and I can count on exactly 0 fingers how many times I've driven across town in the middle of the night to unclog a toilet, or driven across town in the middle of the night, period. Now, have we gotten texts in the middle of the night? Yes. Have I slept through them? Yes. And has it been absolutely fine in the next morning and it wasn't really an emergency? Yes. So when I work with new investors, we go through like how to handle those kind of things. It's all doable, I promise. There's also the possibility to work with a property manager. But people have conjured up this fear of being in need from their tenants, like having needy tenants. And it's so interesting because most of the people that are shying away from real estate investing, first of all, they haven't considered other ways that they could more passively invest in real estate. And 2, they are being told what to do all day long from employers or clients. And so the fact that a tenant may reach out once every couple months with a need is very, very minor, right? At least that's what I think. As you build up more exposure to tenants too, if you do it right, you develop a mutual respect for each other and guidelines and boundaries. And then also you want to help and you want to do the right thing. But typically it is not a major emergency. I really encourage the idea of viewing rentals as a business and not a burden. I heard someone say one time, it's a business in a box. Okay. It really is. It just happens to be that it's in 4 walls and you have a tenant that's really your partner building out and paying off that mortgage, which is part of the beauty of the leverage of real estate. With the right systems, tenants, and team, landlording becomes a business and not a burden, and you don't have to and shouldn't have to do it all yourself. We will do another episode, I promise, on the difference between self-managing and hiring a property management company, because there's really lots of different solutions that you can put in place so that you're not going across town at 3 a.m. to unclog that toilet. Also, we have good plumbers in our network. So you can make sure that you're all set up with the right people to call for sure. So let's go over those 3 myths one more time. The first one was I need a ton of money to get started. We kind of shared how that's not true. You do need some money though. Myth number 2, it's too risky right now. The market isn't right. I am telling you, real estate is so forgiving if you give it time. I cannot think of a scenario where someone has invested for real estate and owned that asset for over 30 years and been sorry that they have real estate. It just doesn't happen. If it does happen, let me know. I'd love to hear your instance. Prove me wrong. And then myth number 3 is that being a landlord is a nightmare. And that's probably the one that I hear the most when people talk and they get excited about real estate for investing for a minute, and then they kind of go, oh, but I wouldn't want to be a landlord. And just before you say that with a closed mind and heart, let's talk through it, okay? I promise you there are ways to solution it and to make it a win-win, and so it's not as uncomfortable for you. And it's a small amount of burden, so to speak, or inconvenience for the long-term gain. And I'm talking to you from the eyes of someone that's been working with tenants for over 20 years, and some of them are friends to this day. I wouldn't say we, go break bread all the time together, but certainly we can have a positive, symbiotic relationship, and it's really beautiful to make a win-win. If you want to go back to last season, listen to the episode with Dave Pickren from Rent Perfect, and it's about smarter landlording. He runs a company that helps screen tenants and do criminal background checks. It's a fascinating interview, and I think you'll get a lot of tools if you're thinking of landlording yourself or if you're already in the game. So the call to action here, don't let these beliefs stop you. Push through them, question them, get the facts you need, overcome the hurdles, and see if you can overcome them enough to take some action. And that would be my encouragement to you. And related to the show, thanks for listening to episode 2 of Real Estate Investing for Life. I'm really excited about the direction this show is taking. I believe the biggest gift you could give me is to subscribe, leave a review, or share this with a friend. and can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Go and grow.